I was sort of recruited at university, as they say of spies and things like that, but I met Terry Jones and one or two other people at Oxford University. In 1964 we did a review at the Edinburgh Festival, and for the first time I had a sort of feeling that maybe, just maybe, I could do what I really wanted to do, which was to be a writer and a comedy writer and actor. And then about 2 years after university, when I left, Terry Jones had already left. He gave me a job in London. We then ended up as jobbing writers for various television comedy shows that were around at that time. And within a couple of years, we very luckily teamed up with Eric Idle, David Jason, Denise Coffey to write a show called Do Not Adjust Your Set, which was a sort of forerunner of Python, really, very similar humour. And by then, I felt I was doing well enough to survive in the industry, but you know, every year it was always a risk. You never knew whether your shows were going to work or not. But by 1967, 2 years out of university, I thought this is what I can just about make a living from. The show that most inspired me was actually a radio show, and it was called The Goon Show, and it was written by Spike Milligan and had Peter Sellers in. Peter Sellers was a great hero of mine because he was a brilliant comedy character actor, and I really that's what I wanted to do, and I admired him and his skill. And so I listened to The Goon Show, and there was something about it that was definitely different from anything I'd ever heard before, and different from what my parents had listened to. It was definitely something I discovered. It was very silly, it was very anarchic, it was difficult to explain what they were doing, but they were just doing things that sort of consistently sort of touched the funny bone. And I think from seeing that, hearing that, because it was a radio show, from hearing that while I was at school in Sheffield, I thought there is hope out there. You know, this is the kind of humour which we can half share at school, but very much the imaginative, surreal kind of humour. I thought if they can do it, maybe I can. So I would say that was at the earliest inspiration. I think what I gained most from when I started out was a colleague, someone to work with. I think it's very, very hard to do it just on your own. And I think if you start out as a writer or even an actor, but we were primarily actors to start with, it's very good, we were primarily writers to start with. It's very good to have someone to test the material on, someone to bounce the ideas off, and someone to pick you up on days when you feel low, and on the other hand, days when they feel low, you pick them up. So I think a partnership with somebody who you trust and you work well with is very, very useful. And the other thing is just not to worry about rejections. you know, it's going to happen. People are going to say, we hate that, oh, I don't want that. Things that you've cherished and loved. But you have to just be clear in your own head of what you want to say, and if it is what you want to say, eventually it will get through. I mean, it may not take the course you want, but don't be put off by other people trying to write you off far too early on. Persist.